Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey there, welcome to a sunny, frigid morning in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, November 13th, 2019, a day that will go down in history. Unfortunately, this program is up against that history since the formal impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump is starting right now as I speak. I am going to assume some of you are there. I'm going to assume a lot of you aren't. I would not be there personally. I would want to watch this. On the other hand, I can, I'm sure, access anything I need to access at a later date, such as the joys of the technology that exists now. So that said, there's quite a bit to talk about. And Ryan Deto is going to be joining us midway to talk about. There's a few issues, local issues of interest to me, and we're going to maybe talk to him about some of those. Well. Let me get first to my favorite story, which is about the cat, the shelter cat. You've seen this, right? You've heard about it. I love this cat. Do you think I have any information on this cat? I don't know. The cat was in a shelter, and I'm not even sure where. Maybe in Texas. And, well, damn it, I had it here. Here it is. Here it is. So this is a cat that obviously is brilliant and is in the shelter and just could not tolerate being in a prison. And this shelter actually was less prison-like than a lot of others. Because it had, for cats, a common room where all the cats would be in one large room together rather than stuck individually in little cages. So, at night, when all of the people were gone from the shelter, for some reason, all the cats escaped the common room. And surveillance was put up to find out what was happening, and it turned out that it was one cat, a cat named Quilty, who, in an effort to escape himself, literally opened the door to the common room, thus letting all the other felines out. And the way Quilty did this is unbelievable. He would jump up, hurl himself against the door, which had a latch, like this, not a knob, but that you pull down. And he would keep trying to get that latch down so the door would unlock. And damn if he didn't open the door. I mean, throwing his body up and out. I mean, he did it without opposable thumbs. He did it without all the things that you would think are required. And bang, the door would open and Quilty would run, and the others as well. So once they identified Quilty as the culprit, he was put in solitary confinement. Do you believe that? They stuck him in an entirely different room, and damned if he didn't still manage to get out. He snuck out when people came in. He's obviously the most brilliant cat ever. And, the shelter started posting updates on Quilty's capers. And, of course, 1,000 people immediately wanted to adopt him. He made his way onto, he's mentioned on Comedy Central's Daily Show. He was all over Twitter. And finally, somebody was given Quilty. It was they said anyone who gets him, you better damn well know how to, be smarter than this cat, because he's going to get out of your house, too. And so far, all reports are from the guy who did get Quilty, that now that Quilty's in a regular house, he is just the sweetest, happiest guy. He's a cuddler. He definitely, rules the roost. But I'm looking at a picture of him, and he is so happy. He is asleep in his new owner's arms. And so the latest update on Quilty is this. He is the king of the house. He loves to be held like a baby and have his tummy rubbed, and looks down on his human minions to do his bidding. He has us all wrapped around his little paws for sure. Anytime he is ignored, he just starts meowing really loudly, and then bam, he's being loved and spoiled. So he still sleeps under the covers with us. All is going well. So he hasn't apparently attempted to escape at all. So there you have it. There are videos online of him jumping up to get the door. It's just amazing. It made my day the other day. Stuff like that. Oh, geez. God bless him. One of them just shows him pawing. He's pawing at the window, pawing at the door. Apparently, he managed to crash a staff meeting at one point when the There's nothing like a great cat. So there you have it, Quilty. God bless him. We need such stories in this day and age. What? This is from Roger. A good friend of ours has a crazy Uncle Nick living in California. He's the family genius the sun rose and set for when he was growing up. He is now a retired surgeon, so he's no idiot, except maybe he is, because he sends me this. A couple of days ago, he and his wife attended an exceptional and understandably emotionally provocative production of Jesus Christ Superstar. It was replete with historically informative lyrics, as well as I don't understand where this goes, and I can't get any more of it. So I'm sorry, Roger. It didn't all. So what? What does this have to do with anything? The subject line is Trump is Jesus Christ Superstar. Is that what it is? It was a Jesus Christ Superstar with Trump as Jesus? Might have been. Barbara is multitasking, meaning she's watching this and watching the. Well, here. Let's look at the guy for whom this is a huge, huge, huge day, and that is the attorney for the Democrats, who is going to be doing the questioning. The way it works is he will question each of the witnesses for 45 minutes, and then they'll let the Congress people in. But this guy, who we'll get to know because he's going to be, it sort of falls on him to elicit from the witnesses a simple enough story that anyone just barely paying attention can see that a crime was committed by the president in this phone call. The guy who will be the attorney is comes out of the Southern District of New York. He worked, in fact, under Preet Bharara, who Trump fired when he came into office. And this guy clearly then has dealt with a lot of really intense, high-profile cases. He has put white-collar criminals behind bars. He has put mobsters behind bars. And he apparently is really good at what, well, we'll see. The word on him is that nothing is too complex for him. He has a powerful presence. And this is actually from Preet Bharara, his former boss. To the extent, he says, that the public will be watching and looking for a credible questioner, I think they will be very impressed with Dan Goldman. So that's the guy. This is his big, and the public testimony is, I guess, beginning now. So it ain't easy knowing that you're prosecuting. I mean, the guy on the Republican side, too, apparently is not quite as flamboyant, but also a pretty reputable and smart cookie. And these two guys are in for the trial of their lives because, they've never done a case in which there's a jury of 11 million people that they have to deal with. I don't know how, I don't know. That's what they're saying. They think the audience will be 11 million. I'm sure at some points it will be more than that as people get dribs and drabs of the testimony themselves. So he was hired only in March. He was hired by Adam Schiff. So let's hope Mr. Goldman is up to the task. I don't know. He slept last night. I slept okay, but I don't know. I would not have slept if I were he. Would not have slept. Oh, my God. The funniest thing I read today. Why did I just do that? The funniest thing I read today was that apparently Jared Kushner has been aggressively insisting, and I guess this is going to happen, that there be a wall cam. He wants, wherever Trump's wall is actually being constructed, he wants us to be able to tune in whenever we want to see the progress on the wall. Now, the reality is, of course, that watching a huge wall being built does not strike me as great TV, but it is, for their purposes, obviously, a way to let their base know that, see, we're doing it. Apparently, the contractors involved in actually building the wall are very much opposed to this, as is the Border Patrol, Because what happens when they build the wall is that sometimes we encroach, the builders, on Mexican territory. They don't want that seen. They don't want, and the contractors say that they have certain proprietary ways that they build their walls, and they don't want any of their competitors seeing how they build the wall. Who knows what? But, you know, about as exciting as watching paint dry, I am sure. But this is Genius Kushner's latest way to waste taxpayer dollars. This goes apparently objections also from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and, as I said, senior Customs and Border Patrol people. But they're going to put it up. The reality is less than 4 miles of the wall. That's all they built. 4 miles. They haven't even acquired most of the land it's private land, a lot of it. They got to buy it from people. And many are reluctant sellers. So then you get into eminent domain and all that crap. So they don't even have the paperwork done to get the wall where they're needed to go. Most of the land in Texas that this wall will go up on is on privately owned land. The government owns all of 4 miles. But Kushner thinks this is a brilliant idea. 24-hour wall cam. I mean, I got into watching The Eagle's Nest the first time we could do that. And I did spend a lot of time just watching eggs. And every once in a while, you know, an eagle would fly in and sit on them. But, yeah, you're at least that's nature. That's something that, you know something is going to happen. But who the hell would watch the wall cam? This is something that the president has put on Kushner's plate himself. And so there you have it. The wall cam coming soon. It's not there yet. It is unclear how much this will cost us taxpayers. There has been no indication that anyone in the public is clamoring to watch the wall be built. But there are people in the White House who definitely wants this. Pretty much the only thing we've seen of the wall thus far has been pictures showing that smugglers have already just sawed right through it and are continuing their criminal activities apace. So most of what has been built, so if somebody wants to say they've been done more than 4 miles, they've done about 80 miles, but 4 miles is of new construction. The 81 miles are of essentially replacement that where a wall already stood, but it wasn't quite as big and beautiful and perfect as Trump's wall. So that wall is most of what has been done where, a higher wall has been put up. Speaking of Kushner, by the way, and speaking of, the vile dictator of Turkey, which purports to be a democracy, is going to be welcomed at the White House today. This is the guy who slaughtered Kurds, because Donald Trump said, yeah, okay, go ahead. Do it. I know they've been our allies, but screw them. And Erdogan is coming to the White House today. Amazing. And this after the Congress of the United States just overwhelmingly, finally, acknowledged that Turkey was responsible for a genocide of Armenians at the turn of the last century. Erdogan is really PO'd about that. He's PO'd about a lot of things, and so he's come to shake down Donald Trump a little bit more. The fact that he is welcomed there while the Kurds are still running for their lives, welcomed here in Washington at the White House, is just so sickening. But maybe Trump is hoping that that will take some attention away from the impeachment hearing. But I mentioned Erdogan specifically because I was thinking about Kushner. And what happens when you live in a banana republic, which I got news for you, under Trump we do. When you live in a place where there's an autocrat, autocrats don't trust anybody. And we see that Trump does not. Erdogan does not either. And they have a very small circle around them. And those circles tend to get smaller and smaller, understandably, as the autocrat, gets more and more paranoid. Trump's circle has shrunk so much so that really the only people he trusts are his family. And Erdogan is not that much different. So it turns out that a lot of stuff has been delegated to the guy who married Erdogan's daughter, Erdogan's Kushner, and the guy who married Trump's daughter, Kushner. And these two have essentially set up, there's also another son-in-law involved of some Turkish oligarch who now actually works for the Kushner business. There is no matter what you look into, when you look into how this White House does business, there is a stench that arises. And what's particularly funny is Republicans don't smell any of that, but they smell Hunter Biden. Now, I would agree that Hunter Biden never should have taken that position because the family members of presidents need to be extremely careful about appearing to, and in fact, benefiting from their, in all these cases, father's position. And that has not always been the case. So while Hunter Biden, what he did was not illegal, it just doesn't look right. Because if his name weren't Hunter Biden, there's no way he's sitting on a board of a Ukrainian gas company. For that matter, the same is true of Trump's children and in-laws as well. So for them to be making such a big to-do about Hunter Biden when their nepotistic family knows no bounds in terms of how they're enriching themselves as a result of Donald Trump's position. God almighty, you can't make it up. Here's something else I need to talk about. I am sickened by all the headlines I saw coming out of the Supreme Court yesterday. The fact that they heard the case on DACA yesterday, the Dreamers. And everyone is reporting that it seemed obvious for anyone watching that the 5 Republicans on the court are going to let Trump kill the program. They're going to say it's okay. Why is he killing the program? He's killing the program because, like Obamacare, It was one of Barack Obama's signature successes. And anything Barack Obama did has got to be undone. This is insane for Trump, because if the court does what it appears they're going to do, saying that these people brought here when they were children are tough for them. I don't care if all they do is speak English. I don't care if the only country they've ever known is the United States. I don't care if they are now adults, they're students, they're college students. We're going to deport them? There are almost 1 million of them. There's actually more, but there's almost 1 million that are registered under the Dreamers Act, where they went to the government and openly said, yes, I am undocumented. I was brought here when I was 5, blah, 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 blah. And so then they have protections under DACA. So if the court decides that Trump has the right to get rid of the program, this decision will come down in the midst of his reelection campaign. And I cannot imagine the bad press. I can't imagine the stories, the human interest stories, of people now age 32, 33, married to Americans, leaders in their communities, children who have children of their own now, and they're going to be deported for a crime that they did not commit. A 5-year-old is not going to say to their parents, I really don't think we should do this, since then I will be in jeopardy. So I'm sickened by the fact that, first of all, both Trump appointees to the court apparently were just blasé about all of that. I don't see why he can't do it, says Kavanaugh. Gorsuch, I don't see a problem here. My heart goes out to these people. I have met a few. I have been blown away by the 2 young women I have met who live here in Pittsburgh, who came as children, who went to high schools in Pittsburgh, who are every bit as American as I am, who pay taxes, who've lived their lives here. And this Republican court and this Republican president are going to now what? Say they're illegal aliens, rapists, murderers. They've invaded our country, and then we're going to throw them out. Yeah. It's an unrecognizable country to many of us. And the thing is, it's a country you don't feel pride in. So, how can you say the land of the free and the home of the brave? How can you sing lines like that, or I pledge allegiance to a country? And that one ends what? With liberty and justice for all? Bullshit! Excuse me. Ryan, come in.
I heard the word bullshit, and I just had to...
Well, that's your cue.
That's my cue.
Ryan Deto, senior editor of Pittsburgh City Paper. Have you been watching the...
I've been following on Twitter a little bit.
Anything major?
No, nothing that. I think the Schiff's just giving his remarks. I think I'm just stuck high up.
Yeah, so they haven't really gotten into the stuff yet.
No, I don't believe so.
All right.
It's going to be an all-day affair.
Oh, it's going to be a few weeks affair.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it rather personally.
That Why that it's
What? That my audience
No,
is
that's
watching
right.
television.
Definitely. I was just gonna say that first thing. I was gonna come in and be like, "Oh man, I bet everybody, all of your audience members are probably watching that."
No, they're actually not all of them are. Some
Okay.
some have let me know that they're watching. They can catch it later, or they're multitasking,
Yeah.
as they say.
Sometimes it's better, I think, to read it.
do it
read
later.
Yeah, read something later. Maybe watch
Yeah.
something later.
Yeah.
The wrap up, because there's probably a lot of stuff that's more inconsequential.
Oh God. Okay, that's about the Dick's CEO.
Oh, that's who that is. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But he looked familiar, and I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
"Who is that?"
The CEO of Dick's.
That's right.
One of my favorite CEOs.
He's a pretty good CEO.
I don't have a lot of favorite
Yeah,
CEOs.
I don't think I like any of them, but
No,
I'll
this is
put
a
it- I'll
good.
put him
No,
up
he's a
higher.
good guy.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
he's a good guy.
Yeah, I think I checked his.
He has a heart, a soul,
Yeah.
and a moral center.
Well, he used to give mostly to Republicans for his thing, but then after Parkland, he really did switch. Like he started giving all his money to like Democrats,
Yeah.
which I think is not that but I just think that says a lot about somebody that he really does seem to care about this issue because Democrats want to change gun laws.
His name is Ed Stack.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why they're headquartered here. He's not from here.
No, it's like from like New York, like Binghamton, New York, or something like that.
Yeah, so
originally.
I mean, but somehow this is headquartered, and anytime you need anything that is sold at one of these outdoorsy stores,
Sporting goods store.
you gotta go to Dick's. You gotta support this guy. You don't go to what's that horrible one, Cabela or what?
Oh, Cabela, sure, yeah.
Ugh.
There's a lot of them.
I mean, there's a lot
Rural
of them.
King, that's another one
Okay.
that's really emerging.
Well, anyway, I'll get
Yeah.
into this later. But yeah, I like him, and I've been wanting to sing his praises. What else did I want to talk to you about? Oh my God, my arch nemesis. I mean it. My arch nemesis has announced she's running for state attorney general, Heather Heidelbaugh.
Heather. I know Heather.
You do?
I do. When she was on county council. Yeah, when I first got here, started reporting. I was reporting a lot on county council, and Heather was on. She was the at-large Republican there. Yeah, she's quite the character.
I know Heather because for a time there was a television show on the public station here, WQED,
Okay.
that aired on Friday nights. That was sort of like a Washington Week in Review.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And it had 2 conservatives and 2 liberals.
Okay.
Well, needless to say, Heather was one of the conservatives, and
Makes sense.
I was one of the liberals.
Oh, boy.
And I got to tell you,
Yeah.
I mean, we could be, cordial
Yeah.
in private.
Yeah.
We could, on occasion, do some girl talk stuff.
Yeah. She's very cordial in private, I would
Yes,
say.
yes.
Mhm.
But she's scary. And I cannot tell you how many times on that show, her response to something I said
Yeah.
was, shame on you.
Is that like your catchphrase?
Shame on you. I would think that's not an argument,
Yeah.
Heather.
Well, but I mean, like at least from like my observations and what you're talking about now, she seems to be like that very prototypical, I think, conservative Republican that exists right now. Whereas in private, they're all like, hey, we're like kind of friends, right? And ha ha ha, let's like joke and like, oh, this is kind of nice. Yeah, you are kind of nice and all this stuff. Once the public goes on,
Oh, man.
fire breathers.
Oh, no.
You know?
Oh, I know. They'll kill you.
And you're right. No arguments for anything. Just language that is totally extreme, like rhetoric that is basically used to
Yeah.
try to kill arguments without anything.
Yeah.
Without any actual point.
man.
Like stuff like saying shame. Or I think I responded to someone on Twitter who's like a Republican operative, and I'm like, man, you use the word extremist a lot. Like everybody who doesn't agree with you is an extremist.
Right,
And it's
right.
like that is like I thought this was about civility. I thought this was about these things. And it's like it's just funny that I think like liberals get attacked on those things. And it's like this has been the Republican playbook for a while. now.
Yeah, and after a while, I got to the point where I said to myself, why am I spending the beginning of my weekend
Yeah.
with Heather. Excuse me. And on top of it, having to look nice and have makeup on and all that crap. So there was, I can't remember the particular reason, but there was a show on, this show was called 4802. Don't ask me.
Really dumb name. Wow.
Stupid name.
Pittsburgh Week would have been perfect.
I know. 4802. You know what? Why 4802?
Why?
That's the address of WQED.
Oh.
4802 Fifth Avenue.
That's right, yeah.
My son still, he makes more 4802 jokes than you can imagine. I mean, out of the blue.
It's deservedly so,
Yeah,
I think.
Right. As a matter of fact, he
hey, you watching 4802? Oh yeah, it's my favorite. Hey, turn on 4802.
That's right. He actually had to write me a check the other day, and he said, "What should I put on the memo line?" And I said, "You don't have to put anything on the memo line. You can put, this." And he said, "Oh, okay, whatever." And I looked at the check actually this morning. 4802.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to try to pull some of these episodes up.
Okay, so for some reason, the other liberal on the night that was my last night was City Council Southside
Bruce
Krause, and he was not a normal. Well, I don't want to say Bruce. It's not that you're not normal.
Yeah.
You were not a regular.
So
he was there, and I was there, and for some reason, I cannot imagine. But she came at me that night in a way that was so, I was literally, like.
Mouth open.
And I was almost shaking when the show was done. I was thinking, I'm going to have a stroke. I mean, I felt dizzy.
Yeah.
Bruce Krause, who is a recovering alcoholic, put his arm around me. I barely knew the guy. And he said, "You come with me. We're going to go to a bar.
Wow.
You need a drink."
Wow. Bruce.
Good
for
what
you,
a
Bruce.
sweet thing.
Yeah. He's a nice guy.
Oh, my God. And he sat there with me while I shook and like. And then I thought, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing it. I called him up.
You got Heidelbad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the good news. After I quit, they dumped the show.
Oh, wow. You were the pillar holding up 4802. You were
Heather.
Oh, man. Wow. So,
your
she's
little Friday night. So she's going to run against. She doesn't have a chance.
No, I don't think. I mean, like, just look at her political career here. I mean, if you want to have a chance to win a statewide seat in Pennsylvania, you better at least be popular in Allegheny County, where you're from. You better be more popular than a Republican, just an average Republican would be. You need to be like Tom Corbett was, when he ran the first time. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
not as a governor, which is like really unpopular, but like you need to have that. You need to have like a more of a popularity. I would think someone like Guy Reschenthaler would be somebody who Republicans would want to run for a statewide seat. I know, it'd be brutal. I agree, but I'm saying is that he has more of a appeal to like more voters than someone like Heather does, because Heather's really divisive, and like she's also just like burned all these bridges, and she
certainly burned mine.
And she was just like when she was on council, she was just like. And actually, I actually connected with her at first on council because she was so, like, her main purpose there was to try to undermine Fitzgerald.
Sure.
Well,
of course.
And it was like, oh, cool, And but she was so like a zealot about it that it just got to this point where it's like, Heather, you're not making any grounds, and it's not working. So change strategies. Think of these other things. And then again, I think her in private is a totally different person than her in public, which I think shows that's bad. That's bad.
That is right. I'm pretty much the same in public and private, at least what I think. Yeah. Although I'm quieter in private.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm much quieter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
I'm the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
I'm louder in private
Okay.
than
well,
I am, and I'm already very loud.
I think some people who meet me are sort of stunned that I'm sort of. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm quiet.
Yeah.
But Heather, I mean, yeah, she could be, like your best friend.
Yeah.
And then the red light on the camera goes on. And she would stick,
How can you
into...
trust the politician like that though, right? How can you know what they're actually standing for, and like how they would, like if you're the AG, if you're the Attorney General, like how would you prosecute certain criminals? How would you uphold our state laws? It's hard to say.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is this. Did I see something in the PG today? I was speaking of Fitzgerald, who is our county executive, where he is behind, obviously, an intelligent effort to reduce the number of municipalities.
Municipal disincorporation.
Disincorporation.
Voluntary
municipal disincorporation.
Which is what I tweeted last night, just like in all caps, because I'm excited about that kind of effort.
There are 130 separate towns. Municipalities. Some aren't even towns, or like 6 houses.
Yeah. Boroughs,
villages,
townships, cities.
Cities.
There's 3 cities in
Allegheny County. Yeah. And let me tell you, one of the reasons we're having trouble getting good voting equipment here is there's not a voting equipment maker who can handle. They said, what? You have 130 municipalities?
The most of any large county in the country.
This is insanity.
Yeah.
You talk about a duplication of services. You talk about a waste of money. You talk about nonsense, all these little fiefdoms.
Well, it's also hard because, like take a town like Braddock, which has had its population just
decimated.
Yeah, decimated. It was 20,000 at its peak. It's 2,000 now. And you think of that, like, how do you offer services? Because services are paid through,
property taxes.
Property taxes, no. Exactly. And the thing about Braddock is that they've had to raise their property taxes so much. They're super high.
You know what?
Which like isn't like as big a deal as you would think just on paper.
Well, but it is if you live there and don't have any money.
Yeah, but I mean the assessed value of their homes is so low because it's so
Wilkinsburg has the same problem.
Yes.
I mean, Wilkinsburg has marvelous houses in it.
It does,
and I know a lot of people who want to buy those houses because the price is really reasonable.
Yeah.
Then they look at the property tax.
And it's really hard.
It's way high because they don't have the tax base.
Yes. And it's so different and it's so disparate.
All over. So
the Braddock, which is really high, Wilkinsburg is really high. And then you go
to you got Upper
and then you go
Clair,
to townships. Especially these townships, especially like Marshall or Pine, in the North Hills, which are wealthy. Their property taxes are nothing because they don't need them to be high because their tax base is growing and it's rich.
And the impact on obviously public education is
which is
huge.
High.
This is insanity.
Yeah.
So there was an effort some years ago to get the state legislature. There was a
bill that was passed that would allow it, and so
it's
still a really heavy lift because it would just allow the municipalities in Allegheny County
to voluntarily say,
disincorporate.
Okay,
yes.
But then who do they become?
Well, this one would basically mean that their services would be provided by the county.
Okay.
So, and that's another thing is that it's not like you would. I don't know you would necessarily like lose your identity. I think that's a big thing to a lot of older people who live in these areas is they don't want to lose their identity as this is my town, which is a little overly nostalgic in my opinion. But
I live in Pittsburgh, but if you ask me, I live in Point Breeze. You don't have to lose your community.
Exactly.
Pittsburghers will tell you that.
Yeah, I live in Bloomfield. I love
exactly.
Bloomfield.
I live in Lawrenceville.
I'm
in Polish Hill. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and so
that's bullshit.
And so you basically the services that are provided by the boroughs and the towns right now, like police officers, like community centers, stuff like that, would be taken over by the county. The county would then do it.
Okay, so my understanding is that bill passed.
The Senate.
The Senate.
Yeah. And it was championed by a former state senator, Republican state senator Randy Vlahovic, who used to represent North Hills and Pittsburgh, and then he lost his seat to a Republican, and then that Republican lost his seat to Lindsey Williams, a Democrat. But anyway, so it does have a bipartisan behind it, if that matters.
But the
to
guy
anybody.
it's bipartisan.
Sure.
But
I mean, it's being held up in the state house.
Rational.
Yeah.
Held up in the state house by the speaker.
Always Turzai. Yeah.
Mike Turzai.
Yeah.
Will someone get that guy out?
It's tough, man. He's got a lot of money, and I mean, like, his district is definitely shifting to support more Democrats, but there needs to be somebody who, I don't know. I keep having this daydream that Dom Costa would move out of the city and into the North Hills, and then he would run against Turzai.
Do you think he could?
Yeah, because I think anybody who's like a moderate Democrat, who's like a cop or like a a soldier or something, they would. That's the kind of candidate that seems to be really appealing to suburban Allegheny County voters. Is moderate, whatever that means. Could just be on paper or whatever. It doesn't really matter because most voters don't even know what moderate is. Just saying.
Well, it's a subjective term.
Yes,
I don't know what's moderate to
exactly,
you.
Exactly.
To me.
And so, like, basically, just like Connor Lamb. If you just have a bunch of Connor Lamb clones that would run for state house, you probably could take out people like Turzai. So, at least that's what I've been learning from the election results over the years and what suburban voters want versus.
So this
city
is a
voters
big
want.
thing for Fitzgerald. He really wants to.
Oh yeah, he's been talking about this for a while. He's always really wanted this. I know that like there were efforts before when Luke Ravensthal was mayor and Dan Honorato was county executive to try to do like a city-county consolidation. That's like basically impossible in
by law.
It's
impossible
in our state. It's not like other states
Philadelphia
that have done it.
did it.
Well, Philadelphia, I think, was always it, and it's a first-class city, and we're not a first class.
Oh, we're not first class.
Yeah, we don't nearly have the population to become first class. You have to be over 1 million.
No.
And the city is only 300,000, so it'll never
We're
be there.
second class. We're definitely, we're traveling in
That's
steerage.
stupid. I don't understand who. I don't understand.
Who came
I don't
up with
understand
this
the framers
crap?
of the Pennsylvania
No,
Constitution when they
what
came
were
up with
they
this
thinking?
first, second class, third
What
class
the bull?
stuff. It's bullshit. I don't even know.
It's just bull.
Anyway, other towns like Nashville, Indianapolis have successfully done city county consolidation. It's not like a necessarily like a silver bullet to any problems that areas have, but it would be interesting to see the like at least have some boroughs just incorporate so they can, I don't know, survive a little better.
Yeah.
People
don't even know their own self-interest. It's just beyond belief.
It's tough. We have so much entertainment that distracts people, in my opinion. But
well, yeah, that's the culture. It's an entertainment culture.
Or even the impeachment stuff, which I think is really important and people should watch.
Yeah.
But that drags everybody's attention, and anybody who is on the I guess
cusp one way or the other.
Cusp of caring about politics.
Yeah.
Those people are like, impeachment.
No, I know.
And then we're like, hey, we have a DA race. District attorney does all this stuff, and it's like, who? What? And it's like, oh no,
I know.
It's really important because we have way too many people in jail. Anyway, but yes.
You retweeted something here, and do you know enough about this?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I know Chris, and he's really knowledgeable.
Okay. Well, you retweeted this. 30 years ago, the mayor, then Sophie Masloff, who
only woman mayor I've ever had.
I loved her.
Yeah, she sounds like
was she
best.
a wondrous character? By the way, there's a new book out on Sophie, and I'm going to have the author.
Oh, cool! That'll be good.
I haven't called the author, but I'll have her on. Sophie Masloff, it says here, did what may be the second or even the number one most politically courageous act, of this in the city.
Yeah.
So what do you remember what it is she
Well, I read
did?
that thread.
Right.
And it sounds like what was happening in the city of Pittsburgh is young people in the area were not really encouraged to live in the city because the wage tax was too high, basically.
Do you remember the wage tax, guys? Because I do.
Yeah.
I
don't remember
No,
it.
you don't. But when I was stunned. I had never known that a city could have could tax my wages. I mean, the city's taxing them, the state's taxing them,
the
feds are taxing it. What the? I was stunned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, anyway,
it was huge.
Yeah.
It was high.
Sounds like what happened was it was too high, but the only way to lower it would to offset the city budget would be to raise another tax. So if you lower this wage tax in order to encourage more young people to move in the city who are more likely to be renters.
Where are you getting the money?
Then exactly where you're getting the money. So then she decided to raise the property tax.
She raised the property tax.
And raising property taxes is obviously
it's really, almost always politically it's suicide.
Yeah, it's really really hard, especially when you do it just like one mayor is like behind it instead of like what we did just raise our property taxes in Pittsburgh, but it was like a coordinated ballot referendum that was like, oh, here's this thing, and it's like a quid pro quo, kind of like you vote for this and you get this, and that's easier in voters' minds to be like, why are you raising my taxes? And so she was able to do that, which is remarkable. I mean, that is remarkable to be like the fact that definitely older property owners vote at much higher rates than younger renters of in cities. So you're basically saying, oh, we're doing this to help this other person, and like politically, that's like really, it is courageous. And what's funny about this thread is that apparently like the school district just raised.
So what happens? She does that, and then the school district says, hey.
Well, this is another thing about Pennsylvania that's weird is that we like the school district is also its own government. It's its own government,
right?
In the same way that like your county and your city is, and the school district is
speaking
too.
of
No
that,
one knows anything about it,
the mayor, the current mayor, Bill Peduto, is talking about he thinks that the Pittsburgh public schools should be taken over.
Yeah, should go under Act 47, which is what the city of Pittsburgh used to be, which is like it's kind of like state bankruptcy, basically, where the state monitors your financial situations, and you have a lot less freedom to kind of do what you want.
Now, how do they pull that off if you're talking about a whole other?
I guess the state legislature would have to vote on it, but I mean, because like I said, like
there is a sense that the school
Act 47.
board,
I think Johnstown is still in Act 47. There's some cities that are still in it.
But there is a sense that the school board is not fiduciarily responsible.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's why they want to take it over because there's too much money.
Oh, yes. There is a sense that the school board is not doing a great job. But I kind of wish we had more reporters at the city paper because I would love somebody who could like figure out what's going on at the school board. I don't know. I don't.
Here's the problem. I remember somebody telling me who works at the Post-Gazette. They used to have I don't know how many education reporters because they covered again with all these bailiwicks. They had to cover not just Pittsburgh public schools, but there's a ton of 500 million school districts. One person can't do that.
Yeah, Northgate, North Hills,
Fox Chapel,
North Allegheny, Fox Chapel,
and every one
Quaker
of them
Valley.
is a place where, tax dollars come into and tax dollars are dispersed.
So and confusing. It's so incredibly confusing.
So, that's another. God, you're right. The framers who made the structure that we're.
It would make sense.
Under.
It would make sense in a country or a state or region that had a much higher rate of participatory democracy, and we don't. No, but I mean, it would make sense if we had voting rates that were in the 90%. If we had that's what I'm saying. Like I think it would because then you would have people who do it. Like what's that famous Churchill quote where it's like democracy is the worst form of government except for the others or whatever.
Yeah.
And like. I think that makes sense when you have everyone participating, but when you have such low rates, like what was our voting rate for the last race? 24%,
I think.
Which is like so again, and that's for the municipalities. That's the thing that's fractured the most, right? So the things that's like fractured and that is the most complicated, you're only having rates at 24%. I mean. which is really, really low. Those are just of registered voters. Those don't even aren't of just like
No, it's
people in
almost
the-
like, you can, okay, we don't deserve a democracy if you have that rate of participation.
Yeah, but no,
it's not-
like that's like always been my thing is like, hey, let's like just at least increase the participation. That actually, what's funny about increasing the participation?
The
it actually-
Republicans are against it, I'll
Well,
tell
yeah,
you that.
But what's funny is that it actually makes things more moderate. Like because
Well, I'm sure that would be true.
Yes, that's
Well,
what.
of course.
That's why I don't understand why the Republicans are so against it. Because really, it should be the progressives that are like, nah, because like they want to see like Summer Lee win and they want to see like Sarah Marado win and stuff like that. But if you actually had more people, because most people don't understand the workings of government, they're gonna pick the moderate just out of ignorance. In my opinion, that's where I think a lot
not necessarily.
of. Well,
ignorance.
I think a lot. Well, I mean, I guess ignorance is a really harsh word, but yeah.
I might choose a moderate on occasion.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm not going to. And
Jeez.
but I mean, but I think a lot of it comes down to that. At least my observations of how government works and stuff like that. Like, let's take like Fitzgerald, right? I would consider him a moderate. For the area, he's a moderate Democrat for sure in terms of his like pro-business stances and pro-energy stances, and he supports social things and stuff like that. But like when he went on KDKA the other day to talk about fracking, it was just like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about, or he does know, and he's just like trying to play both sides and saying it. And you have someone like Marty Griffin interviewing him, who's an idiot. And like, sorry, Marty, but like, like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I think that like, but again, you bring more people in.
Listen, when it comes to the fracking thing that's going on, Peduto is the odd man out.
Yeah, but he's
you
the
got
right
the
person.
Governor,
He's
you
the
got,
correct
you
person,
got
though,
all these other
I would say.
Democrats from the governor.
Yeah. Yes.
And on that,
That's right.
Even Fetterman.
I don't know. Well, no,
Well,
I don't think he's weighed in, and honestly, he should because he was when he ran for Senate, he was for a moratorium on fracking. So
Yeah, but now he's sort of
shifted.
working for a guy who's
Yes.
yeah.
Well, I don't think he wants to talk about it, and I'm probably gonna write a story about trying to get people to talk about it because it seems like a little bit hypocritical. But we don't talk about fracking. But I just think like with participating and all these other things like.
I told you.
It'd be more moderate if more people participated, which would probably make more people happy if they actually just played the game.
Speaking of making people
Not
happy.
me, not Ryan.
No, but I'm
like,
going to make
yeah.
you happy because ever since I've been talking to Ryan, I now see stories all the time about bikes because that's your thing.
That is, yeah.
Well, did you happen to see this story in the New York Times? Copenhagen.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Paradise.
Do you know the song Wonderful, Wonderful Copenhagen?
No. What?
Once I sailed away, but I'm home today, singing Copenhagen. Wonderful. Okay. It says here, everybody rides bikes. There is,
I think the commute rate's like
old
60%
people,
or something.
It's people here use their bikes in any weather. And Copenhagen, it's cold there.
Rainy.
In any weather, they carry their young, they carry the sick on bikes, the elderly, even the dead.
Whoa.
There is actually
Bike
a
hearse.
mortuary kind of operates. There's a bicycle mortuary service that pedals the deceased to their final destinations.
That's how I want to go.
I know you do. So I'm telling you, Copenhagen. Here, it says on a recent soggy, you're right, it's always raining, soggy Monday,
So rainy.
a woman in high heels and a trench coat pedaled a cargo bike. Now, a cargo bike is a tricycle, essentially.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's got like
it's got two, and it's, it's...
can carry a lot in
You
it.
can carry a lot.
Hundreds
and
of pounds.
she was carrying 3 kids. 3 toddlers, and taking them to who knows where, school. A plumber traversed also in a cargo bike. Most of the bikes are those old upright ones.
Yeah.
And when I was
Very
in
comfortable.
Amsterdam, it was the same thing.
Oh, yeah, that's also a bike
They
haven, too.
have the right of way. You don't want to be in a car. And you know what? You don't see obese people either.
Yeah.
Everybody's fit.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Mhm.
These cities are flat.
Sure.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
These cities are flat.
Yeah, that helps. But a lot of American cities are flat too. And if you look at the cities where, like, let's take Indianapolis for example, which is a cow pasture flat. It's super flat.
Yes.
Look at the
totally
bike
flat.
infrastructure there. None.
Worse
than
well,
Pittsburgh.
No, that's a car. Oh, yeah.
Worse than Pittsburgh. So, like, that's the thing about, like, that whole flat argument is, like, I agree that it is better to bike in a flat place. Let's take Florida, for example. Oh, my goodness.
Flat.
Florida, flattest state in the country. Like, it is unbelievably flat. And it's also super warm all the time and sunny.
And they don't bike.
Nowhere do they bike. They have terrible bike infrastructure. I mean, it's just non-existent. You have to bike on the sidewalks. And so, I think that argument is a good one in the fact that, like, yes, it is harder in a hilly city like Pittsburgh, but San Francisco has great biking rates, and San Francisco is way hillier than Pittsburgh.
Says right here that women in labor have been known to bike.
You just have to change the roads. You have to change the roads that are more friendly to bikes. You have to separate the bike infrastructure. You have to make sure that you are protected, whether that's bollards or curbs or something that separates you from the cars. Right. And you have to. Right. That's the priority. If you make that the priority, people will bike.
And I just want to tell Ryan, we're going to end on this so that Ryan can leave here happy. When it snows in Copenhagen, bike lanes are always plowed first.
It's possible. A different world is possible.
See how happy he is? All right. That's it. I thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
And I'll catch up with the you-know-what. Impeachment.
Yeah, that thing.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.